Hi, I'm Michael Muscari from Birmingham, Alabama. I am a prostate cancer survivor. Originally diagnosed in 2002, and subsequent to that, in 2003, met the people who were offering Poly MVA. I started my protocol on the 4th of July of 2003, and since then have had just a remarkable experience. My PSA was 6.3 in June of 2003, and over the previous year it had risen from 2.75 to 6.3. So in early June, my urologist in Birmingham suggested that I go out to see a physician in San Francisco, a world-renowned Dr. Peter Carroll at the Urologic Oncology Center there, and had a consultation with him, had a trial MRI, and then had a color Doppler sonogram the following day. And those gave me a baseline to understand a little bit more about what my situation was. Subsequent to that meeting in San Francisco, again I came back to Alabama and I started the Poly MVA on 4th of July, 2003. And on the 10th of July, I went and had a PSA test, and the results came back and it had dropped to 4.6 from 6.3. Now, mind you, in the intervening time between early June of 03 and July 4th of 03, it's plausible that my PSA could have risen, particularly given the previous year's experience. So, given that that was the case, I would probably submit to you that my PSA had risen in the meantime. So 6.3 would probably be the low end if that was the case. However, if it did not rise, it was still a pretty remarkable drop within a 6-day period of time after having used the first bottle of Poly MVA. From there, I just remained on the protocol. I added things that went along, made some improvements to my diet. And subsequently to that, when I would go back to UCSF for re-examination, they would find that in fact the tumor size had shrunk, and over the years, it's been 10 years, and this year is 10 years, every year that they have measured the tumor is smaller than it was the year before. My PSA has gone up, it goes down, but that's not unusual. Because you can have a cold and the PSA will go up. So it's the only measurement that we have outside of the digital imaging type of measurement, be they color Doppler sonogram or MRI, that has any kind of relationship to where you might be with your prostate cancer. However, given that, the fact that there's so much, and can be so much fluctuation in the blood that you can have false positives and other things. It's not as reliable as you would like it. So, all things considered, I'm very enthusiastic about the improvement in my condition over the last 10 years. I still have never had any traditional therapies, no surgery, no seed implants, no ablation therapy. Never had any hormone therapies, you name it. I have not had any of the traditional therapies. And so, given that my protocols have been specifically Poly MVA, CoQ10, vitamin D3, and a liver support, in addition to just good dietary sense, I eat a lot of raw vegetables. I don't eat any red meats. I eat some free-range chicken and some fish, but the seasonings and things, your diet can be really extensive, even if you're eating just tons of different vegetables. So I'm not a vegetarian. I never wanted to be a vegetarian, so I still do eat some meat, but I don't eat turkey either. Turkey has tryptophan in it. Tryptophan is kind of a sedative, if you will. But all things being equal, I'm delighted with the experience.
What is your PSA reading coming out lately?
My most recent was from 2 weeks ago, and it was 6.6. Last year at this time, I think it was 7.8.
Okay.
In the intervening time, I've had it go as high as 8.4. My PSA goes up and it comes back down.
Right.
And that's, I found over the course of this 10 years, well, actually since 2002 or before, I really started screening when I was 42 years old. I was diagnosed at 49. My father was a prostate cancer victim. My mother's father and my father's father all died of prostate cancer. My mother died of breast cancer, which has a similar cellular pathway, if you will. So, given that history, it certainly has been useful to me to kind of be vigilant and proactive in doing something about mitigating this issue.
Right. And are you getting any types of biopsies?
No, I've only had one set of biopsies. That was in 2002, September of 2002. And out of the 6 biopsies, 1 came back positive. 10% of the core was malignant. My Gleason score was 6, 3 plus 3. And I think they said I was stage 2. So it was early on, it was detected. Now mind you, over the previous few years, I had been doing yearly prostate screening with the PSA test. So each year I was doing those tests. When I started I think I was 42, my PSA was below 1. And it stayed way below 1 for several years. And then in 2001, it started to ratchet up a little bit. And then by 2002, May of 2002, my doctor said, oh, let's do the biopsies. I waited until September. And then subsequent to that, we went from there.
I see. Have there been any negative side effects in terms of using Poly MVA? What have you noticed in terms of side effects?
Well, actually, on the contrary, no side effects at all. If anything, I've had immune system improvement. I have more energy. There are a lot of things about Poly MVA that, even for people that are not cancer patients, there are many benefits just in terms of preventives. Improving your metabolic rate, just improving the overall condition, the way your organs function, among other things. Because of the antioxidant capability, because of how Poly MVA gets in the cell. If there are compromised cells, which it can go to, when those cells, when the Poly MVA innervates the cell, it releases energy. So even stroke patients have had very good results from the Poly MVA. So to answer that, no negative side effects, but I would say on the other side of the coin, yeah, probably a lot of great side effects.
Well, great, outstanding. We're going to be doing some follow-on interviewing. Is there anything else you want to say as far as making a testimony about your use of Poly MVA?
I would encourage people to be very diligent in making their decisions. We live in a medical culture today where we are so used to the doctors laying out a process for what we need to do. What I found was the history, the family history that I had, and talking to other men, many people that went ahead with the standard medical protocols, their survival rates were not what I would call desirable. And many men, even though they may have their prostate removed or whatever, they may not live any longer than someone who did not. So, given the results and given my family history, I felt I needed to take a different path. So I would certainly tell anyone is, be faithful in your approach, be diligent, be willing to do some work, and talk with people who have walked the path that you think you're going to be walking. Talk to a lot of people. Build your faith. Because if there's anything that has an added benefit to walking through some kind of a terminal diagnosis, it is an improvement in one's faith and an exercise thereof. Because that, in fact, and the studies show that increases endorphins in your system. It many, many very good ramifications for prayer, for just being in a faithful group. And he's giving person. Help us. The golden rule becomes it has much more application, which has a great benefit for the person who's giving. Those things I would say would be worthwhile for people.
What kind of negative effects have you seen people suffer when they went through traditional treatment methods?
Well, these are all very well documented in the medical lexicon. There are a host of, for prostate cancer patients, there are a host of negative consequences. There's incontinence, there's sexual dysfunction, there are issues with necrotic tissue, particularly if a person has had radiation, because certainly radiation does not foment healthy tissue. The idea in radiation is to kill that tissue, kill that tumorous mass, and kill the cells within it. So the negative consequences can be broad. For a hormone therapy person, a man can have tenderness of the breast, they can have sexual dysfunction, they can have a series of things that, again, I encourage people to read carefully about what the drawbacks are of any of the medical programs. Now, does that mean that some people cannot have success? Absolutely not. I mean, we live in the United States, which is really the greatest medical method on the face of the planet. However, everything doesn't work for everyone. So people have to find what that is. That's, I think, where the sense of faith comes in, because we walk in faith to pursue that remedy that will have its greatest efficacy in our own lives. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. So you travel to California all the way to Alabama just for this conference?
I do. Well, not just for this conference. I come to the University of California, San Francisco to see those same two urologic oncologists that I began to see 10 years ago. And I go through the same testing protocols there. In the meantime, I have a urologist at home, and I see him on a regular basis. I have my PSA test done, but I stay very disciplined, very focused on my daily protocols, how I administer the Poly MVA, what I take together with it, my supplementation, my diet, when I take the Poly MVA, how much of the Poly MVA I take per dose, all of these things. And that's something that I've worked out in consultation with people at AMAR who supply the Poly MVA. And for me, it has been really a magnificent journey.
Well, it sounds like it, and I'm glad that you survived it, and you seem like a really good person, and very disciplined with that diet and changing your lifestyle.
Well, I would say this, I'm not a big proponent of change, but I'm a huge proponent of improvement. I've seen probably enough change. I prefer not to have any more change, because I don't like change, but I love improvement. And I will do anything to get better. I'll do anything to improve. So, kind of another side of that coin of change. I'm with you. I'm going to focus on the improving side.
Okay. Sounds like an excellent concept.
Great.
Well, thank you very much, Mike.
Certainly, Walter.